from a marketing and branding perspective, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, these are all very much usable and critical, especially in today's world, means of getting your branding out to your consumers, to your customer base. It's critical to build confidence and brand your identity. Long gone is the days where we just relied on word of mouth, although there are plenty of great small businesses and entrepreneurs out there who are starting their business in that manner. It's a global world, and things have changed. In our marketing world, it's absolutely critical, that we're participating where our consumer market is, and that today is definitely very obvious that social media is playing a critical role. Now, mobile marketing, the growth of cell phones and text messaging and mobile websites and the different means of mobile strategies are also as critical and as social media. So using them in a combination is very critical when you're creating and developing your overall marketing strategies. Jennifer's going to really dive into the social media side, particularly Facebook, on this one, although there are other great social media platforms for businesses. But I want to talk about the combined efforts in a marketing campaign. Utilizing your mobile strategies to engage your customers and your audience, and driving them to your social media strategies, and vice versa. They very, very well work together, just as we used to do mailing campaigns and phone calls. The same thing goes for text messages, mobile websites, and social media strategies. They work for B2B and B2C. I hear a constant discussion going on in the marketing world. Well, Facebook's only really good for business to consumers. And actually, I have to be honest, a few years ago I would have agreed. However, that is clearly changing. B2B, B2C, it doesn't matter, what audience you're engaging. They're all active on social media platforms. By connecting the tactics between your mobile and your social, you're going to drive better brand awareness. And I'm going to get into a little bit of the details between, the mobile marketing and the strategy, so I don't want to dive too much into this. But one thing I do want to talk about real quick is when you're designing these strategies, it's always good to attach a person or a concept or a brand, to your mobile and your social marketing. Everybody in the audience probably knows who Richard Branson is, or Jobs, or Gates. These are all people that we hear about constantly. Now, yes, they're clearly built empires. However, the reality is that in branding, in creating a consumer base that's following you socially, it's a great, the ability to put a face and to put a personalized image and out to the world in these manners can definitely drive brand awareness and a comfort level from your customer base or your consumer base that you just couldn't get from sending out a bunch of letters or making phone calls and saying, hey, by the way, could you imagine Richard Branson back in the days, people calling up and saying, hey, our CEO Richard Branson is this great guy. He does all these great things. But through the means of social media, through the means of mobile websites, mobile traffic, you can drive, and people know who he is. And not just for the fact that he runs, a very large conglomerate. So even the smaller companies, when you can put a face to an organization and create a brand around, your CEO, your leader. And then one of the other points I wanted to make sure to make is realizing, and this is something, like I said, 2 years ago, I had to come to the realization, which is social media and mobile engagement are absolutely necessary. When we look at the history of devices and communication methods and engagement tools, at one point the phone was considered not necessary. At one time a fax was considered not necessary. And email websites, and today, social media and mobile engagement. I still know companies today that exist without websites, and we all think that's just crazy. Everybody needs a website. Well, same thing goes for social media, and the mobile strategies are just the same. These devices, everybody has one. Smartphones, Apple has obviously done a lot to drive these devices, with the iPad, and of course all the following, different types of mobile devices that have come up. So next slide, please. All right, so sharing to social and mobile, combining the two strategies together, each one definitely has its benefits. We could, you can talk about what markets, which tools work better to engage what markets, but I truly believe that in today's world, you have to be engaging your audience in every level. We're inundated by different forms of communication, and it used to be just TV that we talked about, but now, it's social media, it's, your cell phones, text messages. These are, part of the great thing about both of these devices is that they're immediate. They are a direct communication to your consumer base or to your followers. There's a great synergy between the two areas because both are undeniably personal. Social media is a very personal communication tool. Text messaging, everybody text messages. And I know that's a very general statement, but even my parent, uses text messaging, which is hard to believe. And both are very immediate. The expectation in today's society and the way things are moving with technology is customers are looking to outreach to their, companies that they do business with and have immediate responses. This is something that everybody's trying to deal with. Some of the advantages of these communication modules is you can actually utilize them for other things other than just marketing. You can use them for proactive, customer support. A lot of companies are starting to integrate at least the social portion, if not the SMS and mobile portion, into their contact centers. It's critical. They're critical tools that you have to start implementing and start thinking around what your strategy is going to be moving forward if you don't already have one. So next slide. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about text messaging. Everybody knows and probably uses text messaging that's on this, I'm assuming. But it's just some numbers. 60% of the people around the world are actively text messaging, with over 193,000 text messages sent every second. I think my daughter probably tried to meet that number by herself yesterday. It's obvious that these numbers are just continuing to grow. And it's not going away. One of the things I show these numbers for, too, is for you to realize there is no other means of marketing that I know of that I've ever ran across that had these kind of numbers. 94% of all text messages are read within 3 minutes. If you could have told me 20 years ago, 10 years ago, that there was a way that you could guarantee that 94% of your messages were read and actually visibly seen by a consumer, then I would have called you a liar. But, obviously with this technology, it only takes 90 seconds to receive a response. And 97% of all text messages sent are actually opened. That's a huge number. So the text message also obviously gives you a national reach, and it's all about real-time notifications. You clearly responses back to from your community can be handled back and forth just in a natural way, as if you're talking to your consumer. There are a lot of kids, in the early 20s, the generation that's coming up now into the business world, who have actively been text messaging since they were young. This is a very common practice for them. So, if you're not preparing for it by building your opt-in list or your strategies around it, you definitely need to start doing it. So, next slide. All right. So, in the philosophies of of a marketing strategy, and implementing this, everything worth doing is worth tracking, and we take this to heart here. And I think everybody who's ever ran a successful marketing campaign knows that you need to track everything. You need to proactively seek out and listen and understand your consumer base. Find the channels that they're communicating across. And then identify what they're going to be communicating across next year or 10 years from now, if you can. It's hard to do in this day and age. MySpace, when social media first came out, MySpace was obviously the biggest hit. But out of nowhere, Facebook came along, and before you knew it, MySpace was a secondary thought. And I don't know if anybody on this phone still uses it, but MySpace does still exist out there today. However, you never hear about it. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, these are all forms that we're hearing about on a regular basis. However, it can change quickly. So you have to be engaged with your consumers. You have to understand, who your audience is and what the channels are that they're communicating with, and then track it. Continuously monitoring your competition. I think anybody would agree that, generally speaking, if your major competitor is doing something that you aren't, in a form of communicating with customers, you're definitely missing opportunities. And understanding your analytics, and never launch without them. It always amazes me today how many companies still do not simply have basic analytics on their website, let alone understanding where their traffic's coming from, how much time they're spending, where they're driving to, and how to benefit from that. Understand your analytics. Take some time. If you're not an analytics person, that's okay. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of great organizations that can help you out with that. But never, ever launch a marketing strategy without being able to measure it. Next slide. All right, so continuing on in that, there's clearly one tool that I know that most companies have implemented in one fashion or another. Some are industry specific, some are not. CRMs are a great central point, to manage all your communication channels there. You can create, when you're doing this, you want to make sure you're creating a strategy around, a central place to store this. I recommend a CRM because, in today's world, there's plenty of great hosted solutions out there, cloud-based CRM platforms, and some companies even manage their own infrastructure and still have a premise-based solution. But either way, use a centralized point for all your communication channels. Don't take the risk of having it spread across 5 or 6 different applications. Make sure that your data is being stored back and driven back to one location. Invest in your information technologies. Even at the smallest level, entrepreneurs today, you can find tools out there that you can afford, that you can use to start implementing these strategies. And try to, maybe you're not at the stage to have your own, on-premise database solution or the IT staff to manage it, but you need to be thinking in terms of this. Tracking, reporting, analytics, all these multimedia channels are, they're already out there, and your consumer base is already using them. And then you need to put the right people in charge of those. If it's not yourself, as you grow, or maybe there's a group of individuals or a consulting group that locally you can trust, but find the right people, to help you with these strategies and tactics. And if you run a contact center or you have a group that runs it for you, make sure that you're looking at how you can integrate these things. It's only natural that the communication channels to your consumers are going to run through your contact center, but yet I still see plenty of businesses out there running their social media or their mobile messaging as purely marketing strategies, not without any real tiebacks or direct tiebacks to a sales organization or a support organization. These tools are immediate, and the consumers are expecting immediate responses. The only channel I know of to deliver immediate response in an effective, repeatable manner is through a contact center of some kind. So next slide. All right, so mobile tactics that can be integrated back and forth between Facebook and Twitter and your mobile efforts. There are interactive offers. Now, these things can be as simple as polling, to current customer bases, satisfaction polls. Maybe you can have a little fun and do some games, with your consumers, create some kind of, a fun program to have them text back and forth, and they can access that same short code or mobile coupon from, your social media pages. Anything you do on your mobile side should be integrated back over to your social and vice versa. There are mobile websites out there today. A lot of people think that just having a website is enough. Well, with devices like this one, if you can see it, they're a big enough screen now. People are navigating, they're searching, they're looking around on their mobile devices. So if you don't have a mobile, website prepared, then you need to start considering that. There are plenty of solutions out there that can help you build very simplistic but mobile-friendly websites to be able to drive traffic to. Things like QR codes. They're the funky little barcodes that look like a big square. Those actually hold quite a bit of data, and they allow people to, with a cell phone, simply snap a picture or capture that QR code, and it can immediately integrate them to your mobile messaging strategies. And there's obviously a lot of different ways you can do this. I think the point I'm trying to make in this part is really make sure that you're looking at all the different ways that you can use mobile strategies with your social media, and then combine them. Take advantage of the fact that you're going to have followers that want to interact with you via Facebook. You're going to have followers or consumers or customers that are going to want to communicate through text or through mobile devices. And then there's the next generation. So actually, it's a well-known fact, people actively use social media on their mobile devices. Next slide, please, Adrian. So I want to talk a little bit about this, and I know, there's been a little bit of contention, about a year ago or so when iOS came out for the new iPhones, and also the Windows-based devices. They did something interesting. They took all the social media applications, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and they integrated the contacts into your traditional contact book in your cell phone. So today, when I go into my contact list, I've got all the people out of my LinkedIn, out of my Facebook, out of all the social media accounts that I've got on my cell phone. All of a sudden, became instant contacts inside my cell phone. It's very interesting, but the reality of the world is that now your smartphones have all of those contacts available to you, and vice versa. Your network's sitting there on your phone. And people are using it constantly to communicate. And I know Jennifer, I think, is going to talk a little bit about the amount of usage on a cell phone, on a regular basis by consumers in today's world, which is kind of shocking. But then again, I think when you hear it, you'll probably know some people that spend even more time. But one thing I want to make sure that all of you are thinking about is that there are FCC requirements for marketing or selling via text messaging and via social, or not social, but via other forms of messaging to cell phones. So if you're not building your opt-in list today, and you're not building your followers on Facebook or LinkedIn, for your contacts, then you definitely need to be looking at those strategies and planning for the future, especially with the opt-in rules, on text messaging and communications. If mobile strategies and texting is in your future, make sure you get with your legal team and get some disclaimers and some forms up on your website or your contracts that allow you to communicate, via text messaging. So with that being said, Adrian, next slide. I'd like to hand it off to Jennifer, and I, again, really appreciate all your time, and hopefully we'll get some questions after Jennifer's done. So Jennifer, it's all yours.
Thank you, Fred. And Fred, I definitely agree with you. There is definitely a synergy between the mobile and social media. So now it's time for social media marketing, and I wanted to talk to you about how social media is not a fad. A brand that isn't both social and mobile isn't going places these days. 50% of the population is under the age of 30 years old, and out of them, 96% of people have joined a social media platform of some sort. Kids are starting to join Facebook as early as between the ages of 10 and 12 years old. And that's because they have older siblings, friends, families, relatives, all sharing photos and videos of experiences that they all share together. Do you realize what kind of network these kids will have by the time they reach 25 years old? And these networks hold value. These kids will be joining all sorts of groups and be adding all sorts of people through their adolescence and early childhood. So it's very important to know that these networks of people have value to them if they ever decide to go to market with a brand. Next slide, please. Let's talk a little bit about mobile phones. Facebook accounts for 23% of all time spent on a mobile device in the U.S. Within Facebook, 40% of all of this time is spent on the news feed. Let me ask you something. If you're sitting there waiting in line to either pick up food, dry cleaners, maybe at the bank, what are you doing during that time? Are you checking your email, texting? Are you on Facebook at all? A lot of times people are on the news feed of Facebook just checking to see what other people are doing at the exact same time that they're doing their thing. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about real-time issues. Social media platforms are growing by the minute, which is causing organizations issues in terms of catching up. If you're just starting out to get involved in a social media strategy, you better hurry up. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, just to name a few, have been honestly going up faster and faster, and you need to catch up. According to CustomerThink.com, Twitter launched 5 years ago and today overengages 140 million users. LinkedIn has become a social media powerhouse with over 100 million users. There's more than 5 million users on Facebook. These numbers are absolutely crazy. Post anything during a lunch hour and see what kind of postings you're going to get from them. Now imagine if a customer posts something about you or about your brand. Customers can engage in real time with other customers about your brand. Isn't this a scary thought? Are you prepared to handle this? The viral effect is huge, and corporations need to handle the new wave strategically and effectively. Next slide, please. Customers' expectations, probably one of my favorite topics to talk about. Long gone are the days when customers experience a 24 to 40 hour response time. These days, consumers expect instant communication when dealing with a provider through multiple channels. So let me explain to you something that happens to me as a photographer. I'm a wedding photographer, so usually on Friday night, I might get a ping, a text message, an email from a bride saying, I just heard it's going to rain, what are we going to do, where's my plan B? And they start to freak out and panic a little bit. Now I can choose to say, listen, it's 9 o'clock at night, I'm not answering that text. Or I could say to them, you know what, don't worry about it, I have your back. We'll have a plan B figured out, I have everything covered for you. This allows my client to feel very relaxed, and then she could go about, stressing about other things, like maybe her hair or her makeup for that day. The next slide, please. Oh, wait, sorry. The expectations about Bell Canada. So let me explain to you a series that happened to me with Bell Canada. So a couple of months ago, I got the studio, and I obviously got a phone provider in from Bell Canada. And the idea was that I was going to pay for my phone service and internet through this company. After 4 months, the bill kept coming in, but kept having the wrong information on it in terms of my company information on it. After I called customer service many, many times and asked them to change the name, they said yes, no problem, but it was never done. Eventually, after the 3rd month, collections called me and said, listen, you need to pay the bill. I acknowledged that this bill was actually mine, and I asked them, all I need you to do is just change the name on the company profile to feature my photography name and not whatever company name that they've made a mistake on. He says, ma'am, I know we've dropped the ball on this. I know that this is an issue, but unfortunately you have to pay the bill. You can't pay for a bill that doesn't actually have my name on it. Long story short, they refused to help me. So I took to social media, and I actually posted on Facebook about how upset I was about this whole situation. And within 20 minutes, I got over 50 comments, views, shares, likes, other customers complaining about their expectations with this carrier and how they felt too about how the customer service was really lacking. In the end, within 2 hours after that, Bell Canada called me personally, fixed my problem, changed the name, we got the bill paid, and in the end I got 2 months free service because of it. So it's very important that customer service is 100% up there on your platform in terms of responding to clients. But the other thing that's really important is that you can go viral anytime. Next slide, please. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what happened to the Gap 3 years ago. Gap decided to use Facebook to announce their plans for a new logo, and they were hit hard with the social media feedback. 4 ways that the Gap was actually avoided logo disaster. They trust within their network. What Gap did is they went to Facebook and they actually posted the fact that they were going to change their logo to the logo that you see here, logo B, the one with the white. Not only did they listen to the negative feedback they got from that logo, they did something about it. They asked their followers, you have an opinion about this? Why don't you create a logo yourself? And they gave their network of people the opportunity of actually coming back with a new design logo. By taking action, Gap actually instilled trust in their network of followers on Facebook. They saved money as well. By introducing the new logo online before it went to the masses, Gap actually saved themselves countless dollars in rebranding and advertising for their stores. Gap can now focus their marketing dollars on proven efforts and other experiments. During this time, Gap obviously had tons of buzz on Facebook, but most importantly, this buzz happened during the holiday season, which made their sweater sales go up. Understand where your future feedback lies. With the amount of feedback that they got from Facebook, Gap knows now that they can turn to social media if they ever want to do anything with their brand again. I think what's really important about all of this is that social networks can provide a snapshot of your entire market and what they think. Social media can also affect ways that companies understand how their consumers may react to major changes to their brands. Next slide, please. Creating the best mission control room on Facebook. So I'm a wedding photographer, and there's tons of things about this that we can talk about. But let's talk about engaging consumers with useful information. Being a wedding photographer, I have to be personable. I have to be relatable. So for me, I have to make sure my bride knows that I've been in her shoes before. I am a wife of 13 years, so I've been in her shoes. I've had the wedding day. I've had the nerves. For a mom, I could relate to a newborn mom who's holding her baby for the first time, wanting those newborn pictures. The idea is you want your clients to feel that they share the same life experiences that you do, and you understand what they're going through. Branding. For me, the Nike swoosh was something I constantly thought about. I wanted to be known like the Nike swoosh was known. So I went with something a little more me. I went with a pink color for my logo, and obviously flowers being weddings was an obvious option to take. So now in Montreal, I'm known as the photographer with the pink flower. Word of mouth. This is a little hard if you don't have a following just yet. So what I did is I decided to offer free jobs. I did an engagement shoot here. I did a baby shoot there. And what I asked is for social feedback. I wanted my client to go on my corporate Facebook page and write something about me and what happened during their experience with me. With it being visible on both my Facebook and on my website, it was able to show clients or other clients about how other clients felt about me and their experiences. Attention. Post videos, post comments, post pictures, post everything, post fun facts. People like to see you at the top of the newsfeed. If you become insignificant in terms of like not posting often enough, then people will tend to forget about you. So posting is very, very important. Feedback. I tag myself every time I go to a venue when I'm shooting a wedding. I would say something like, hey, congratulations to the bride and groom. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for choosing Photography by Jennifer Ponarelli. And I will tag them in that posting and then, press send. So my network of people see that I'm working, and their network of people see that I've congratulated the bride and groom. When all the dust settles and the bride and groom are done with their day, I, for the most part, 90% of the time, get a text message back on social media saying, Jen, thank you so much for being there on our wedding day. We're so glad that we chose you. You guys did great, and looking forward to seeing the pictures. That ends up being viewed afterwards on my network of people. So it's nice to get that feedback back from the client, and everything is visible, which is actually really nice. Sharing. You have to share. You have to share feedback. You have to share postings. I'm a part of a wedding vendors group called Love Share in Montreal. And that's exactly what we do. We share each other's services. So if the caterer sends out a tip of the day, I'm sharing the tip of the day with my network of people. What the idea is that you're sharing it with different networks of people so that the word spreads throughout. Directly communicate and improve customer service. These for me are two and one of the same. I never go 6 weeks without talking with a client. The idea for me is that I'm trying to build a relationship that lasts. So once that bride gets married and she has her images, eventually she's going to have a family. So I'll get that maternity picture. I'll get that first newborn baby picture. I might get the baptism. I might get other religious ceremonies that follow. I might get siblings. So the idea is you always want to make sure that your client knows that you're always there. So when they think of photography, they think of photography by Jennifer Tonarelli as well. Customer service, that goes back to what I was saying about, how, responding to a text message late at night. It depends on how you want to handle this. But I know for me, if it matters to my client that I answer them, within the next hour, let's say, but let's be reasonable, with something that worries them, and I can calm their nerves down, then I'll do that. It's all part of the customer service for me. And discover who's posting when and who's working or who's following them. The idea behind this is, my moms are from 9 to 12, right, Monday to Friday. When they're getting the kids ready for school, when they're preparing the lunch, they might go on Facebook, they might look on news feeds. So I might post a picture of a picture of a baby at that particular time. If I'm shooting for a bride and groom, I might look, Friday night between 8:30 and Saturday morning 9 o'clock while the bride's getting her hair done. She might be traveling through the newsfeed of Facebook and taking a look at what I posted, and she might say, oh my God, my photographer posted congratulations to me for my wedding day, and she's so happy that it's like sunny outside. So the idea is you have to know who's following you and when the right time for you to be posting. Next slide, please. A good start to an action plan. So this is just a basic one-on-one on how to get, your Facebook corporate page started. Create a business page. That's actually fairly easy to do. Facebook has a whole side on the right-hand side that explains to you how to create a page. Once your page is filled, fill it with a ton of content about you. Fill it with all your contact information. Describe your business 100% from A to B. As of last Thursday, Facebook changed their layout a little bit, and so what happens is if you share your business page on your personal Facebook page, it actually pops up the portion of the About Me section, so it's very visible, and it's a really nice piece actually, so that when before you like the page, you're able to read a little bit about the corporation, make sure that that's who you want to like. Once this is all done, then add your personal network to your business page, so that you start building your likes immediately. Once that is established, take the logo for the Facebook logo and put it on your website. And once that's done, then you can start doing the promotions. Offer stuff on Facebook that people can't find anywhere else. And Bath & Body Works does this very well. What they'll do is they'll send out a promotion on Facebook probably once a month. And they'll say, bring us your smartphone, show us the Facebook message that you received per month, and receive X amount of dollars off, or receive X product off. And I think that's really great because they got people into the store, and they also got to, and then people feel that they can, word of mouth spreads, and then people want to get Bath & Body Works on Facebook in order to get these promotions as well. So next slide. I think that's it. Adrian, I think I'll hand it over to you. Thank you so much for listening, and if you have any questions, there's a Q&A period right after this.
Thank you, Jennifer. Well, that was a lot of information, and now I feel like I have to go back and check my Facebook and my LinkedIn and all my social networks and kind of reevaluate what I've got going on. So now is this point in the presentation where we're going to take some questions, but first I just wanted to remind everyone about Make a Splash. Keep typing in, and you can put it in the questions panel. Just type in Make a Splash, and you'll automatically be qualified. And I will notify the winner once the presentation is concluded. And also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Call Center Corporation has all of those. I know Voice One has a Facebook, so don't forget. That would be awesome. And so now I'm going to take the first question. Let's see. The first one coming in was the Gap social media experiment an attempt to get more exposure and get their name out there? So I guess this one's a little targeted at you, Jennifer.
Yeah. I was reading further about it, and a lot of people were saying that's probably exactly what happened. But I tend to believe, too, that it was really important that they, I do that with photography sometimes, and I've seen that with other photographers. They'll post two pictures, a black and white and a colored one. They'll say, which one would you prefer? I think it's a matter of opinion, really, but for whatever reason, it absolutely worked for them. Their sweater sales went up, and I think that's what's important, right?
Absolutely. And kind of going along with the company Facebook, does the company care if it has multiple pages?
In terms of the
I guess
gap?
does Facebook, sorry, I misread that one. Does Facebook care if a company has multiple pages?
No, I personally manage 18 pages right now on Facebook, 18 business pages on Facebook. So you can do whatever you wish. And I do a lot of sharing in between, right? The idea is, you could take one post and put it on your personal page, and maybe it's affiliated with another page, and you could, spread the love. That's what's important, right? It's all about being social and about being out there.
Absolutely. So would you, I guess either Fred or Jennifer, would you recommend integrating your personal social network with your professional?
Fred, I'll leave this one up to you.
This is a common question, and I have to be honest. At first, again, I go back to a couple of years ago before we actively really got involved, and even up to even more recent. I used to believe that my professional and my personal life should be maintained as separate, and that's the way that it should be. But I always like to take a look at things and the way that the world is changing and try to step back a little bit. And what I've come to realize is that that's my own personal stuff that I gained from growing up when I did in the small farming community as I did, and those are some of my own just personal feelings about the separation between professional and personal. But the reality of the world is these 20-year-olds, the 18-year-olds, the generation even in the early teens, these are all coming up and becoming consumers. They have no separation between their social media and their personal or professional, and the only thing that's really going to drive that is by people telling them, no, you can't do that. But the reality is they're going to do it. I think I spend more time at work than I do in my personal life, and that's the reality of today's world. I think it gives a nice, myself, this is a personal opinion, I think everybody's level is going to be determined based upon what your comfort level is. But for myself, I openly use my personal Facebook in particular for professional, and I use my professional LinkedIn for personal also. Because that's the world that we live in. It's a social, it's a social world, and that's my opinion. Again, is that right for you? I don't know. You're going to have to judge that. You got to make your own personal decision on that. But for myself, I see it as an advantage because in the way that social media works, I've got 300 plus friends, and they've got 300 plus friends apiece, and they've got and the whole idea is, that it's a form of media. So it's a way to get my businesses out there through a very personal way. And I'm perfectly okay with that. It's the same thing as what people ask when, what's the easiest way to get hired nowadays. It's through your network. Same thing goes with your business. I think that you should leverage your network. And should be able to get out, to that network and have them help you just as you would help them. That's the society that's I think a change and an evolution that's going to happen. Maybe it'll be a revolution. I don't know, but I guess for me it has been a revolution. I've recognized that that's just a personal shift in my belief system. Jennifer, anything to add on that?
We spoke about this yesterday, and it's funny, when I take a picture of my kid, they'll say, oh, are you going to go post it on Facebook? There's no inhibitions for them, right? For them, everything is visible. Everything's online. So it's just one of those things. You have to feel less inhibited about, or less reservations about the situation. You got to go and take the leap of faith and be out there. With restrictions, mind you, but you should go out there.
So do you have any strategies how to gain followers?
I like to start with media. I'm not going to lie to you. So I'm from Montreal, and what we do is I'll start adding radio stations and different types of media outlets. From there, I'll check to see how many connections I have. If I have anything over 100 plus people connected to, I might go add those people as well. I'm not going to lie, I've been kicked off of Facebook probably 3 times with a 30-day penalty. It happens. That's how you build your network, unfortunately. But when I'm shooting a wedding, I'll introduce myself to some of the guests, and I'll say, hey, are you on Facebook? Follow me on Facebook. And I'll kind of add my network that way too. But it is important to, that's why I'm saying about the kids starting so young. They're going to have all these high school friends and then college friends and their part-time job friends. And these are all friends that are going to be added to their network. That network has value to it. It holds a market value.
Excellent. Do you suggest getting your branding solidified, like your logo, mission statement, catchphrases, marketing tools like that in place before starting your social media or your Facebook pages, LinkedIn, stuff like that?
It depends if you have it already. Fred, do you want me to answer it?
Well, no, I'll give my answer, my 2 cents.
Yeah. So for photography, I had my logo up when I started my Facebook page, my corporate Facebook page. But it just depends. Sometimes you build a ghost page and you fill it up with a lot of content and fill it up with photos, videos, and then go live with it with a brand new logo and a brand new mission statement and a brand new tagline. And that also adds emphasis too. So when you start adding followers, you have a complete site that has been fully concentrated with the content. So it can go either way. Being a photographer, it's really easy because of the fact that I have images.
My personal opinion is, and if anybody's ever heard me speak about marketing or anything, it's about it being, getting out there. Marketing is, there's no magic tricks to it. It's about doing it, and there's no perfect marketing program. This is branding. It's about the exercise of getting out there and getting in front of people and getting eyeballs and building your network and taking the time to do it. You don't have to be perfect. You just need you need to be professional. Don't get me wrong. I want to see the best material that possibly can be put out there. But it's more about doing it and then actively utilizing every resource you can to drive your network. I would recommend every method. Friends, business cards should have your Facebook and your LinkedIn. You should have it on the bottom of your signature and your email. You should send emails to your local groups. Every connection has multiple connections underneath them. Hence the whole idea, going viral. I think it's more critical to do it and be able to measure it and then fill it in, as you continue to build it. But some people are just more careful than I am when it comes to the details, and that I think it's more important to get out there and start branding, who you are. But again, professionally, of course.
Of course. So if someone hacks a Facebook account, is there liability for what they may have posted or sent?
That's a good question, actually. I would say yes, and I would say you should be tracking that immediately. If you've gone social, you should be on your Facebook at least every 4-6 hours to make sure that does not happen. Even if you're on vacation. I think that's really hard not to do that because we're so connected between mobile and social. We're so connected regardless. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a beach and seen a mom with her cell phone on. If she's not taking a picture of her kid in the beach, she's on Facebook or she's looking at something, checking emails, checking Twitter. So I find that hard if you don't notice that someone's hacking you. But if it does, you can actually eliminate all those postings immediately. You could just go through and clean it up.
I don't know if there's any cases out there that I've heard of, at least, that somebody's been held liable for a hacker posting something. I don't know. It'd be tough to find out, but I've never heard of one. I imagine as long as you're as Jim said, as long as you're managing it properly, it shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. So we keep talking about Facebook here. What are the other, social media outlets that would be good to get started with?
Twitter is an effortless platform to use. It can actually be connected directly with your Facebook. So any postings you do on Facebook will appear on Twitter. And LinkedIn also does the reverse. So it also does it on Twitter, which I think is a really good feature because then you could cover two platforms in one shot. So I would definitely do the Twitter Facebook connection right away, and LinkedIn's for professionals, and Fred's a very big advocate for LinkedIn. And go
Yeah,
ahead,
I've been
Angela.
on LinkedIn. Yeah, I've been on LinkedIn since I can't even remember when I first signed up. But the groups and the professional communications, you can always post to your groups. Another way to drive your audience or the people that are connected to you on LinkedIn and grow those. Be active in the groups, communicate with them. I always get great articles from different leaders that I follow on LinkedIn. And please feel free to add me on LinkedIn or Facebook, and I'm sure Jennifer will say the same thing. But I personally am a big proponent of LinkedIn. I know you like Jennifer. Is it Pinterest is one of your favorites, being a
For
photographer?
photography, yeah. And any ideas really, again, I'm a mom and a wife, so if I wanted to come up with a new way of posing babies, I would go and check that Pinterest out. If I'm doing my kids' birthday parties, you just post in, baby boy birthday parties, and a ton of images come up. It is a great tool to use, and people share their ideas, and that's what's really nice.
Yeah, I'm a big user of Pinterest, that's for sure. So just a reminder, we still have a few minutes if you want to have a last-minute question or enter your Make a Splash into the question box. And with that,
Adrian, I just had a thought, Adrian. Maybe not everybody saw it. We have gotten a few posts in for the Make a Splash, but just in case you didn't see the press, what we're doing is we do webinars like this consistently for a lot of different markets. And what we decided to do is offer our, the ability for us to create allow you an opportunity to write an article for our Glass of Sherry, which is a weekly kind of news-like postings that go out through Facebook and through email for those people that get those already. You can write a guest article, about a subject that's important to you. You can, Voice One is typically, Voice One is a division of our call center corporation, which Voice One focuses on messaging technology such as mobile messaging or, voice messaging, type solutions. So we try to stay close to that audience, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't work with you on your audience for this. But our real goal is to help somebody put on one of these webinars and be able to help them build up, an audience and send out some messages for you and press release and drive attendance, and then of course we'll help you design your own to drive your own audience. But the whole idea was for us to get people actively involved in the industry, whether you're in, I know we've got some, organizations here from, I think, trying to look through the email addresses right now. I know we've got some call center companies that are on, so if you have an idea about what your business does, maybe a white paper you've written, some successes you've had with different types of messaging, we've got, it looks like we might have a few nonprofit organizations, if you've ever used messaging, things like that. So if you're interested in either being a guest writer personally from your experience or interested in doing a business webinar like this, that's the point of the Make a Splash, is we're trying to help people, get out and build their own audiences as being and participating in this. And we do these about every 3 weeks. So, there's if it's not for you, if you don't like speaking in front of people, like some people I know, get really nervous or something like that, you can definitely be a great guest writer or just simply attend the webinars and request for us. And if afterwards you decide you have a great idea as a company or, you talk to somebody else and they want to be a part of it, send it to sales at Voice One Solutions and just make it out as a subject, Make a Splash. We'll, as Adrian said, we're going to be making a decision pretty quickly, but we're always looking for guest speakers and guest writers. It's something that we really try to get back to the networks that we work in and try to provide educational platforms for people to learn about different things. So anyway, sorry, Adrian, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just thought, maybe there's some people on here who really didn't get a chance to see those press releases or what Make a Splash was really about.
Oh yeah, no, that's great. I think it's great to have an explanation. And kind of going off of Fred's, the slides are going to be available after the presentation, and so all you just email sales@voiceonesolutions.com if you'd like a copy, as well as probably later today or tomorrow, the presentation will be available on our YouTube channel as well as on our website. So in case you missed something, or maybe you came in late or something like that, you can still view it in its entirety. So with that, I think that is about all the questions that came in, and looks like we're hitting the top of the hour anyways.
Perfect timing. Excellent.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again.
That's great. Have a good one. Bye.